The woman merely locked eyes with the man, and then to his surprise she transformed into a bird. This was the first time Nick had encountered such a monster, so he called Monroe the werewolf for advice. Monroe was equally astonished, as he had only heard of this creature. He thought it had been extinct for centuries. In ancient times these birds were kept as slaves by the nobility. The creature would secrete a mysterious valuable substance, but only once in its lifetime, like an egg. To extract this substance their throats had to be slit. That's why they became extinct 200 years ago, turning into nothing more than a legend. But the most terrifying part was that the woman was not alone. She was accompanied by a wildcat monster. Soon Nick received some bad news. The woman was being kept as a pet and her life was always in danger. Every day the man would come home and cook for his wife, but the ingredients were disgusting. Earthworms mixed with an unknown white liquid. Robin's face showed fear, but it wasn't just because of the disgusting food. Every time she ate she was one step closer to death. Nick and Juliet went on vacation, but without navigation they got lost. They found a farm and Nick went to ask for directions. Ever since Nick had awakened his Grimm family bloodline, his world had completely changed. Everywhere he went he saw hidden monsters. The man had transformed into a wildcat monster and Nick had to avoid the creature's gaze. If the monster discovered his identity, it could lead to a life or death battle. Inside the house the woman looked at Juliet with pleading eyes. This moment sparked sympathy in Juliet, but she had no idea what was really going on with the woman. Soon their paths would cross again. That night Nick and Juliet stayed at a nearby cabin. Juliet noticed the couple next door arguing, but since it wasn't in their jurisdiction Nick had no choice but to call the police. He gave them the detailed address and reported it as domestic violence. All they could do was wait for the police to arrive. Meanwhile Robin was enduring unimaginable pain because she refused to eat. The man tied her hands and feet to a chair, then forced a tube down her throat. He poured the disgusting food into a machine, forcing it down her esophagus. No matter how much she struggled or screamed, she couldn't stop him. It was so cruel. Oddly enough, when the sheriff arrived the man seemed completely unfazed. Nick and Juliet watched as the sheriff entered the house and only relaxed when they were certain there wouldn't be any issues. But what they didn't know was that the woman hadn't been saved. The sheriff left alone. The man next door gave them a threatening glare. In this situation Nick called Monroe again, asking about the wildcat monster's habits. But Monroe had only bad news for him. Wildcat monsters were born evil and he warned Nick to be careful. Later Juliet ran into Robin at the supermarket and mentioned that her boyfriend was a detective. At the sound of this Robin became terrified like a rabbit startled by a predator. This confirmed for Juliet that Robin was being abused, but the truth was even more horrifying than domestic violence. Juliet handed Robin Nick's business card, telling her to call for help if she needed it. Just then Robin's husband appeared behind her. Thankfully he didn't notice the card, but Nick's gaze still terrified Robin, causing her to reveal her true form.